If you've jumped straight into this part of Lesson 2 without completing the score to this point, you can open a catch-up file called beethoven3.sib, which you'll find in the Lesson 2 folder within your Core Resources folder. Step time and alphabetic entry allow you to move away from being bound to the mouse for note entry. These are the methods that most copyists use, because once perfected, you can simply touch type music. To get started, you need to know how to access the keypad panel, which you've already learned is your source for note lengths, ties, accidentals, and articulations with your computer keyboard. If you compare the shape of Sibelius's keypad panel to the shape of the numerical keypad on your computer keyboard, you'll see that they're exactly the same shape. This isn't a coincidence. Each key on the computer's numerical keypad can be used as a shortcut to every element in Sibelius's keypad panel. For example, try typing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 on your keypad. You will see the 6 note lengths on the keypad panel being highlighted as you do so. If you're working on a laptop that doesn't have a numerical keypad, there are quite a few solutions available to you, and these are outlined in detail in your book. From USB keypads to apps for your smartphone, I highly recommend you choose a solution that suits you before you go any further, because this is such a key feature of how Sibelius works. You're going to carry on inputting the first violin from where you left off in the last video. If you already started putting notes into bar 17, select the bar and press delete so you can start afresh at the beginning of that bar. An important shortcut to remember at this point is N for note entry. You'll begin both alphabetic and step time entry each time by selecting a start point on the score and then pressing N. Do that now. We'll begin with step time entry. Step time uses the keypad to tell Sibelius what rhythmic duration you'd like, and then your MIDI keyboard to input the pitch. Therefore, press 3 on your numerical keypad to select the 8th note, or quaver if you prefer. The violin plays nothing but 8th notes for the next 10 bars, so you can simply play the pitches in your own time on your MIDI keyboard, and each one will be an 8th note. When you reach bar 27, press the 4 key on your keypad to change the note length to a quarter note, crotchet, and then input the D. You can input the rests in the rest of the bar entirely with the keypad. You have a quarter note selected already, so simply hit the 0 key on your keypad, which corresponds with the rest button. Then press 5 to choose the half note or minim, and press 0 for the rest again. Next come whole notes or semibreves, so press 6 on your keypad to select that note length, and then play the D and G pitches on your MIDI keyboard. By now you've probably got the idea, and so you could continue on your own. However, there's another element to step time input. Begin the next run of 8th notes or quavers by changing the note length and playing the G and F sharp, and then before you play the remaining notes, add the staccato. The corresponding key on the keypad layout is different in Windows and Mac computers. In Windows you press the asterisk key, on Mac you press the slash key. Now, as you play the rest of the notes in that bar, each one has a staccato. When you reach the next bar, you'll need to turn off the staccato mark, as well as changing the note length to a quarter note or crotchet. You should complete the rest of the first violin part to the first 2 crotchets in bar 35. In the preceding passage, there were a number of notes that Sibelius spelled incorrectly. For instance, the C natural in bar 24. Press Escape twice to cancel any selection, and then click on this note and press Enter or Return on your keyboard to respell it enharmonically. Alphabetic entry follows the same process that you've just learned for step time, but doesn't require a MIDI keyboard. Instead of inputting pitches with the keyboard, you simply type them alphabetically on your computer keyboard. To try this, add the second violin part at bar 20. Select the bar that you need to start from as before, and then again press N for note entry. Add the rests at the start of the bar as you did in step time, using a combination of note lengths and the rest key on the keypad. Then, to add the E quarter note or crotchet, simply type E. The note is entered in the score. Add a tie with the tie button and then press E again, then F. There's no need to add the sharp because Sibelius assumes you're writing within the prevailing key signature. You don't need to write an accidental unless the music requires it. An example of that comes in the next bar. When you reach the G sharp, press number 8 on your keypad to select the sharp before you type the G, and then add the tie and so on. You'll do the same for the G natural a couple of bars later. Everything will hum along quite nicely like this until you reach bar 30. At that point, after adding the A, Sibelius will incorrectly choose the E below. It's incorrect on two fronts, not only because that's not what Beethoven wrote, but also because a violin can't play anything lower than the G. There is, however, logic behind what Sibelius did. If you look at most musical lines in any style of music, big jumps in pitch over, say, a tritone are unusual. They'll be there, but they're rare. So Sibelius always guesses that you want the closest note to the previous one, and most of the time it's right. When it isn't, you can quickly change octaves by holding the Control or Command keys and then pressing the up or down arrows on your keyboard. These move the selected notes by 1 octave. Complete the second violin part to the same point as the first violin, remembering to add staccatos where required to practice alphabetic entry. The last thing to learn for both alphabetic and step time entry is how to make triplets. The first violin part ended at bar 35. If you haven't already, input the E sharp and the F sharp on the first 2 beats, and then put the rest on the third beat, using either alphabetic or step time entry. Add the first note of the triplet, which is an 8th note or quaver A. Then, to create the triplet, simply type Control and 3, or if you're working on a Mac, Command and 3. Now add the notes for the rest of the triplet. Continue practicing note entry until you reach bar 47, where there are 6 triplets in a row. When you get to that point at bar 47, it's a good point to learn sticky triplets. Begin by adding the C natural 8th note at the start of the first triplet and press Control and 3 or Command and 3 as you did before. Then press Shift and Alt and K, or if you're on a Mac, Shift and Option and K to turn on sticky tuplets. A 3 will appear above the cursor, and every note you input from now on will be a triplet. To toggle the sticky triplets off, just press the same shortcut again. Finish practicing your note entry by adding the first violin right to the end of the excerpt.